What is up, everybody? It is JT Sports. I am back to you guys with another episode of the JT Sports Podcast. And we have some breaking news that we have to talk about. The Dallas Cowboys are trading away star wide receiver Amari Cooper to the Cleveland Browns. Now, what the Cleveland Browns are getting from the Dallas Cowboys are wide receiver Amari Cooper plus a 6th-round pick. What the Dallas Cowboys are getting in return for Amari Cooper are 5th and 6th round selections from the Cleveland Browns. And it's fair to say that this trade was a robbery on the behalf of the Cleveland Browns. And for the Dallas Cowboys, it's like they could have gotten more in return for Amari Cooper, but they were trying to get this done quickly. So there was a sense of urgency, and teams probably already knew this, that Dallas was trying to get rid of Amari Cooper as quickly as possible so they can free up a little bit more cap space to bring back guys like Michael Gallup, maybe Cedric Wilson. So you look at this trade. Of course, we know that the Browns are the obvious winners of this trade because they were able to get Amari Cooper, who is one of the better wide receivers in the league, for late round selections. However, Amari Cooper does have a pretty big cap hit. He has a cap hit of $22 million for this year and a cap hit of $22 million for next season. However, his dead cap is pretty low, $6 million, $4 million. So for the Cleveland Browns, you're getting a pretty good wide receiver. Amari Cooper is coming off a down season compared to the numbers that he put up in 2020 and 2019 for the Dallas Cowboys. And he is inconsistent at times. Some weeks he can go for 200. The next week he's nowhere to be found. But Cleveland desperately needed help at the wide receiver position. It has been a weakness of the Browns going into the offseason ever since they traded away Odell Beckham. And the word on the street is that the Browns are probably going to end up releasing Jarvis Landry. Amari Cooper is an upgrade from Jarvis Landry, in my opinion, and Odell Beckham. Even though we saw Odell Beckham break out and, kind of reemerge with the LA Rams, he just wasn't really a good scheme fit for the Browns. Meanwhile, you look at Amari Cooper, I think Amari Cooper is a really good fit in the Browns offense, really good route runner, really good at creating separation. Like, Amari Cooper is, when he's playing at his best and he's consistent, he's a top 10 wide receiver in the league without a doubt. However, he is kind of inconsistent, but him going to Cleveland is going to be a really good spot. He's going to get a lot of targets, and don't be surprised if you see Amari Cooper going for over 1,200 yards this upcoming season. Now, who the quarterback is going to be, I'm expecting it to be Baker Mayfield, but with how this offseason is going so far, nobody's safe. But you look at Dallas, and I understand the frustrations that Dallas Cowboy fans are going to have with this trade, because I don't think nobody was expecting to trade away Amari Cooper for nothing less than at least a 3rd round selection, and you got a 5th and a 6th round pick. So I know Dallas Cowboy fans are not happy with that. However, you have to understand the reason for why this trade had to go through and why this had to happen. Dallas doesn't have that much cap space. They got to free up some cap space, and they have to do it quickly because NFL free agency is only a couple of days away, and they got to make sure that they can get guys like Michael Gallup locked up long term. They also have a couple of other guys who are pending free agents who they might want to bring back as well. So this had to happen quickly, and Dallas didn't really have time to be stubborn. They had to come to a deal with at least a team, and they had to get it done. They couldn't really be too picky, because if they got too picky with that team already knowing that Dallas didn't really have that much time, they kind of knew that Dallas was kind of in a situation where they couldn't really debate and do the back and forth. So this move had to be made quickly for Dallas to free up enough cap space so they can bring back some of the marquee free agents that they have. But, however, it came at the expense of losing Amari Cooper, and I'm pretty sure Dallas the front office and Jerry Jones didn't really want to give away Amari Cooper. I'm pretty sure they wanted to keep Amari Cooper. However, it's just when you have too many luxuries, you have to end up cutting down. It's like in your house, let's say, for example, your whole household, right? Everybody has all these subscriptions and whatnot, but money around the house starts getting kind of tight. So you bring everybody to the dinner table and you have a talk. You say, hey, listen, we got to cut down some of our expenses because money's tight. We have to be able to pay for other things such as car insurance, the electric bill and whatnot. So we may have to cancel out our Netflix subscription or our Hulu subscription. We can't keep both. We may have to, cut down on our electricity bill. Like for Dallas, they had too many luxury vehicles, and eventually, the luxury vehicles end up being too much to maintain and keep up with, and to be able to afford other expenses, they had to let some of those luxury cars walk out of the garage. And that's kind of what Dallas had to do. So I'm pretty sure Dallas Cowboy fans are really upset because when you lost Amari Cooper, nobody really wanted to see Amari Cooper leave Dallas. However, it had to happen if Dallas was going to be able to free up some cap space to bring back some of their marquee free agents. And it's not like Dallas has, no receivers after this. Like, you're still going to have Michael Gallup since you're working on an extension with him. You're going to have CeeDee Lamb, and maybe you can bring back Cedric Wilson. But I was reading a report a couple of days ago that said that Dallas doesn't expect to keep Cedric Wilson because they're probably going to get outbid for him when free agency starts. So for Amari Cooper, him going to Cleveland, you're either going to be playing with Baker Mayfield or somebody else. And I ain't even going to lie with you guys. I've been laughing for the last couple of minutes at these Baker Mayfield jokes. Everybody's saying that, I don't know why the Browns traded for Amari Cooper. Baker Mayfield's going to overthrow him every play. Like, it's really funny. But I mean, let's be serious for a second. Like, Baker Mayfield is going to benefit from having Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is going to be a factor in Kevin Stefanski's offense. As a matter of fact, I think that Amari Cooper is probably going to be getting somewhere between 12 and 13 targets a game in this Kevin Stefanski offense, maybe even 15. Also, I think that we can see Amari Cooper easily going for 1,200 yards this year, and he can end up having a bounce-back season because 2021 was a little bit of a down year for him compared to his previous two seasons for Dallas. Also, looking at the Cleveland Browns, now with Baker Mayfield, okay, you're going to have a little bit more of a reliable option because Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham, even though they're really good players, they struggle to stay healthy. They struggle to stay on the field. And when they were on the field, they weren't really great fits for Cleveland's offense. So I think that Amari Cooper is going to prove to be a better fit than both Jarvis Landry and OBJ. On top of that, you got Amari Cooper for pretty much nothing. You gave up 2 late round picks for Amari Cooper. Like, you have to give a round of applause to the general manager of the Browns and the whole entire front office for making this trade happen, because Cleveland recognized that Dallas was in a tight spot. They had to get rid of Amari Cooper quickly. They at least wanted to get something in return from him, because if you're a Cowboys fan, this could have been a lot worse because you were going to get rid of Amari Cooper either way. If you couldn't find somebody to trade for Amari Cooper, you were going to release him. So it was better to at least get something in return for Amari Cooper versus releasing Amari Cooper and getting nothing back in return. So now, I mean, yeah, you have 5th and 6th round selections. They may not be flashy, but you got to understand that the majority of NFL rosters are comprised of late round selections. And this 5th and 6th round pick potentially could be a good depth player or potentially a solid starter. So you don't really know what's going to happen with these draft picks. But Cleveland won this trade, pretty fair to say. But you guys let me know your thoughts on this trade down in the comment section down below. Like, I understand that Dallas lost this trade, but I kind of feel like not enough people are really truly understanding the motivations for why Dallas had to get rid of Amari Cooper and why they got what they got in return. And the argument is going to be, well, JT, even with the sense of urgency, they still could have got more for him. That's understandable. But other teams also understood that Dallas had a lot of urgency when trying to trade Amari Cooper. So Dallas didn't have time to sit back and debate back and forth what they wanted, because they could potentially risk a team saying, you know what, we're not going to trade for Amari Cooper. We're just going to wait for you guys to release him, and then we'll go ahead and we'll snag him up and we'll sign him. So for Dallas, like, if they try to, push back and try to get a little bit aggressive and ask for more, they probably would have turned a lot of teams off, and they would have ended up letting Amari Cooper walk away from nothing. And that's what not many Cowboy fans seem to understand. Like, Amari Cooper was going one way or another. He was getting cut or he was getting traded. Dallas wanted to trade him so they can at least get something in return. So I'm not defending Dallas. I'm just saying, like, the reason why Dallas probably got the bad end of this trade was simply because of urgency. They didn't have too much time to sit back and go back and forth and try to get more compensation and risk that team that they're trying to negotiate with walking away and just waiting for Amari Cooper to hit free agency. Like, Dallas had to get rid of Amari Cooper fast if they were going to get something in return from him. And on top of that, you free up some cap space, so now you can bring back some of the other guys that you have. And I, quite frankly, to be honest with you, I think it's kind of a good thing that Dallas got rid of Amari Cooper, because now you can allocate that money to other positions of need. And on top of that, you have Michael Gallup, who you can get at a cheaper rate compared to what you're paying Amari Cooper. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. Make sure that you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure that you guys check out the JT Sports Podcast. Every video that is uploaded on the channel is available in audio format on every single podcasting platform: Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from. The JT Sports Podcast is available. All you got to do is type in the JT Sports Podcast in any podcasting platform, and it will pop up. Leave a 5-star review. Or you can go to the description down below, scroll down a little bit, and it will have the links to the Apple Podcast and the Spotify Podcast if you guys want to go ahead and check it out. I appreciate you guys for listening to this episode of the JT Sports Podcast.